What is going on, YouTube? Back in the garage with the Vevor 36 volt electric dirt bike. It's going to show you two suspension upgrades. So got a D&M rear shock, 750-pound spring. I will put the link in the description for that. Very simple install. Two Allen keys on either side. Take out top and bottom bolts. Allen, and pop the new one in. Could not be easier. Probably take you 5-10 minutes. Now this involves a lot more fabricating. I'll put the link in the description for these. Very well known, cheap, Chinese made pit bike front forks. While the stock has no springs at all, those little plastic white mud guards are completely deceiving because they don't provide any protection to a cylinder because there is no cylinder. These actually do compress. When I have them on the ground, I can probably compress it about that much. That little line right there is just from me doing it with my hand a second ago. So I'll show you once we get the bike fully assembled what it's going to do. Even with my kid, yeah, I'll have my kid ride it, my 6-year-old, and go over some bumps to show you it in action. But I'm going to show you how I put it together. So disassembling your stock one right there should be pretty simple. I believe there was 2 bolts up on top of the triple clamp, or whatever you want to call this, nut there, and then an Allen, which I stripped out. So then I went ahead and welded a nut on top of it. So if your Allen head bolt, if the Allen starts I guess not stripped out technically, but rounding out, then there's an easy fix. If you can weld a nut on there, be way better for you. So what are you going to need to do this besides buying these on Amazon or eBay or wherever you get your Chinese stuff, AliExpress? You're going to need new bolts because your original triple clamp bolt is not quite long enough. Why does that look long enough? When I had it in there, it was definitely not long enough, but we're gonna stick that in there again and check, because unless I just didn't think there was enough room with only that. I mean, yeah, it's not even really in there, but. So this is your original triple clamp bolt, whatever you want to call that goes through here. Mine just has a welded nut on there, but this is the original length. Took off the original washer wherever I put it. There it is. So this washer here was originally sitting underneath the head of the bolt on top of, originally it came with that. So take off the washer to save yourself a tiny bit of room, and yet you're still looking at, not even getting into the nylon lock nut part of the nut. So yeah, those are your options. You can ride it like this, or even just throw some thread locker in there. That's an option. Or you can go out and get a longer M10 bolt. I'll put a link in the description for the one that I'm buying off AliExpress. My hardware store did not have M10 bolts. The axle bolt is an M10, and the triple clamp bolt are M10s. So this is what your M10 thickness looks like. This is 3/8. Mine didn't even have long enough hex bolts, so I had to get carriage bolts to make them work. I have welded nuts on it so I can tighten it on both sides. I added some tape there to try to thicken it up a little bit where it's going to go inside the wheel. This is going to be my axle bolt. Obviously it's way too long, but I'm going to cut some off. I originally bought this, same 3/8 size, and then just in the busyness of working on this project, I started using my 10-inch bolt. I bought 2 of each kind, just in case I messed one up. So I bought 2. I believe these are 8 inches, maybe 7s. For the axle there, I think that's an 8. 2 8s, 2 10s. Let's see what I bought. 7s. Okay. So I got 2 7s and 2 10s. And so yeah, you're gonna want an M10 7-inch bolt for your axle. You might get away with a 6, but I'll get a 7 and trim some off if it's a little long. And then you're going to want an M10. What is that? At least so that's 10 right there. That's 9. Yeah, you're going to want at least a 9-inch bolt. Yeah, I think 8 is what it came with stock, and it's just not doing it with the new fork setup. So yeah, pick up those bolts if you can at a hardware store, buy them online, and you'll be better off than using the 3/8 stuff. But in a pinch, I'm going to use the 3/8, and then I'll probably order the better bolts and swap it over. Because yeah, if you ride around with a lot of play for a long time, eventually it'll probably start kind of ovaling holes and not being ideal. There'll be some more rattling and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to get this done in a day, and this is all my kind of builder hardware store had. It's not really made for engines, just typical builder grade bolts for homes. So now the only tricky fabricating part, besides welding a nut onto a carriage bolt, that I did, because this is very simple, just dropped right in there. Well, this is still the M10, but yeah, the 3/8 just drops right in. The axle took some tinkering around with, so yeah, this is the one I'm going to use. So I'm just basically going to show you here on the table or with one hand, and then I'll put it on and show you it. So you have a washer, and then this spacer which came with it, so that goes in between here. So your bolt goes in. Like I said, I'll just show you in a sec. And then you got washer, spacer, wheel going into the brake, which thankfully the brake caliper fit right on this eBay fork, so I'm really happy about that. These bolts I got out of my bolt drawer, so you do need whatever these are. 2 M6 30mm bolts. Those will work great for your caliper. And then on this other side is the trickiest part. 2 washers, 3/8 on my bolt, very simple. M10 washers if you're using an M10 bolt. But making my own spacer, that was the, I guess, besides welding, fabricating part. So what I did was bought a 1/4 fine thread plumbing fitting. And then, so basically just 1/4-inch NPT, National Plumbing Thread. It looked like this with the threads on both sides. Longer though, so basically that with then the other thread over here. So I've cut off 2 pieces. So basically if you take this, chop it in half. Those are the 2 pieces I have here, and then the other one I actually put inside here so that the bolt doesn't waffle around so much. So if you take your 3/8 bolt, it will not just go right over the plumbing fitting. It's close, but not quite. So what I did was throw it in the vise, cha-ching, clamp it down, grab yourself one of these babies, put some cutting oil in there, and then want. Okay. Open up your hole a little bit, then it slides onto the bolt. Ta-da! You got yourself a spacer. Now, spacer, fairly easy. Well, it was not as easy, and you'll need a NPT 1/4-inch tap. I tapped out this hole so that the threaded part, so I chopped off just the threaded part, whatever that is, a 1/2 inch or so, and so threaded that out when it was just open, just like that. Added my threads and then stuck it on the end of this baby like that. Boop. And then just twisted it on in there. Why did I do that? Because otherwise the 3/8 bolt would be slopping all over the place like this while you're riding down the street. Not anymore. Ooh, nice and tight. So, what about on this side, you're thinking? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me get the wheel out of the way. Mr. Carriage bolt here has that little built up square part at the end. Just so happens, not as tight as this side. This side I actually have to like kind of hit through with the hammer to get it to really go through, but let me straighten this out. As you can see, I can either kind of thread it on in there or give it some wax and it'll get itself moving through, as you can see, but ta-da! So, tiny bit of play, but not much. So again, you can skip all this fabricating, just buy yourself the M10 bolts. But if you want to do it the 3/8 bolt way in a pinch, just get it done. Don't have to wait a week if you live in some slow place like I do, out in the middle of nowhere, Canada, where it takes a week for anything to get here, and the hardware store only has builder grade bolts. This is what you can do. So I'm gonna get this whole thing set up. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll go for a little spin. But just wanted to explain how I did it in case you want to do something similar. How does it feel compared to the other fork?
Not that bumpy anymore.
Less bumpy?
Yeah.
That's good. Can you push down on it? All right, push the left brake in. Now push down. Okay, so he can barely compress it, but for an adult, when I push on it, I can easily press it down to good. You can see where the little bit of fork grease, a little bit of spring grease is pushing down. So yeah, easily 1.5 to 2 inches of travel in the fork. It's a fairly simple mod, especially if you buy the M10 bolts ahead of time. I'll put a link in the description. I did find some on AliExpress. I just used the 3/8 bolts like I explained because I wanted to get it done. But yeah, I'll put the M10 bolts in when they come in. I got 2 different ones. I'll put the links down below for the sizes I bought. One for the triple clamp tube and then one for the axle. But as far as getting this back on with the existing these little triple clamps, I just use wire ties, zip ties, plastic zip ties. Super simple. It's all plastic anyway. You can see how I did it there. I put a screw through and then a little zip tie going through the big zip tie. So if you want to copy what I did, really simple, holds on just fine. This thing's always falling out, but it's that little headlight plastic that doesn't actually have a headlight. Sometimes you put a flashlight in there at night. But all right, let her rip. She's going full speed. There's little brother on the blue Jeep. Can definitely still hear some kind of a little bit of clunking there. Definitely looks more confident.